Joining me is a public affairs analyst, Razak Olukoba. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, so ULC, that's Labour faction, a faction of the Labour Congress, have decided to opt out of the strike that was supposed to hold today. What do you think of the situation?
Actually, it will come to that.
Okay.
And you should expect more of such thing. Because we have said that there are several ways of making the life of workers better, rather than salary increase all the time. There's a universal standard that the labor must maintain, the labor union must maintain, that what are things that the union can do to make their life better. For instance, the essential needs of life, like the transportation, the housing system. Labor must take time to pay attention to such areas because it made no sense of it each time there's a salary increase and the prices of commodities skyrocketed, then back to square one again. And we said, change style. Don't continue to traumatize the nation going on strike. Don't traumatize.
Okay, but the ULC is saying that there's a Labour faction, United Labour Congress, is saying that the NLC did not get to them. And of course, the critical areas, critical industries and sectors in the economy are not involved in this strike. Does it show that there's a division in the House?
That's what I'm saying, that there will be division. There's no how. Look at the ASU now. ASU, the faction is saying that the career of the students should not be the basis for negotiation at all times. Students, you strike, you prolong their stays in schools. So also the labours too. You traumatize the nation, you ask us to go on strike, only for us to end up ensuring that the salary they get, they didn't take them home. So what we are saying is that we should not conclude, we should not admit that the best way to take something from the government at all time is to demand for salary increase. There are other things that the world can do. In the rest of the world, Asan Sumonu was the one that started in 1978, the first organized structured salary. And down the line, it has been the same pattern.
Okay.
Increase salary, price of commodity will increase. And we said, no. Manufacturer Association, labor need to talk to them. What is the cost of production of goods? The essential goods.
So it means labor should look inwards in ensuring that the welfare
of their workers outside salary increase, because salary increase has become a pattern, and there are black men that salary increase is a part of agitation at all time because they want their check-off dues to increase. It's not as if they have interest of the workers at heart. So if they have the interest of the workers at heart, change your style. It's been the same pattern.
But at this point, can they change their style, saying that the strike, intended strike, is no longer, is suspended, so to speak? Can they change their style at this point, now that they are still in discussions with the government?
We didn't only blame the labours. We must also bring the government into it, because the government must also lay a template. The government must also make the platform available for them to take part in some of those we are talking about, because price control is not under the purview of the NS. There's a law that states what they can do, what they cannot do.
But they can make demands.
But fair price, is it NLC business? But because they know the consequence of increase all the time. So those are initiatives I'm talking about, that it shouldn't be price, salary increase at all time. There are other things that they can do, which you also have mentioned.
That is why I'm asking, at this point, is there anything they can do?
In the immediate, we support the salary increase of lower cadre staff from 1 to 6. But the higher cadres, 7 to 15, the economy of the nation, we don't have another nation other than Nigeria. If you have someone who have 3 staff already, earning 400,000 naira, and someone is earning 18,000 naira, it's just fair enough to say that the guys earning 18,000 should pay attention to. Why the senior staff? Let's do a moderation to it. We are not saying that you don't deserve because it's a legislation that every 5 years there must be salary increase.
Absolutely.
But not all laws are obeyable. If you obey a law that will put the nation into jeopardy, you can find a way of avoiding it. So labor should find a way of understanding the plight of Nigerians. So
you're saying that labor shouldn't even ask for an increase for the higher cadre?
They should moderate it. Not that it should be a moderation. The gargantuan increase they are demanding for higher staff, the economy cannot sustain it. We are making demanding parliament members to bring down their salary, which is another agitation that the board should also look into. If you say cost, you must make move if you want to cost and also improvise by saying that the cost we are cutting here added to the salary of the workers. So what I'm supposed to do essentially that trauma is a trauma. If we had gone on strike today, Billions of naira will have been lost. And only for us to take a step forward, 10 steps backward. 30,000 naira. Salary of price of rice will increase to 35,000 naira. We are not going anywhere. And Labour and government should be held responsible for this. That they are just. Right. I'm not in the organized sector. I'm not a civil servant. So why must you traumatize me all the time? Find a way of resolving your problem. Don't involve the nation at all time in your salary increase. So find some way, somehow to do it without bringing the nation into it at all time.
All right, Public Affairs Analyst Razak Olukoba, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, it's a pleasure being with you.
Joining us now is a Public Affairs Analyst, Razak Olukoba. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Breakfast. Now, when you look at that video, one of the statements was that government has shown commitment, because before now, issues of transparency on the aspect from the part of the government had been the major issue. And now they are asking that government should shift grounds. I wonder how this comes to you and what you think that this might imply.
The two institutions should be more clearer in what they tell Nigerians, because from our own observation as members of the civil society, we know the challenge government have is concerned about capacity. That if you put these additional expenses on Nigerians, we will be able to push it through, because it's not a one-off thing. It has to continue.
Yes.
And you remember clearly what is this economic situation of Nigeria in the last 1 year. So there's that fear that can we sustain it? And that is our argument, that all the guys that are handling NLC now are seasoned activists. They have experience, and we expect that.
Has the experience come to play so far?
It didn't come to play. That's why I'm coming to that. They understand the terrain. That one of the ways to improve the workers' welfare is not essentially about salary increase. Government and NLC and the organized and the unions should find another way of improving the welfare of Nigerian workers outside salary increase, because it's most of the time taking 1 step forward and 10 steps backward. You look at the pattern it has been from the military era of Pascal Bafia, when Oshiomhole was the deputy, up until what we are talking about today. It has always been increase salary, increase the price of production, the price of commodities. There are essential things that we need to survive as a people.
And then we are having the increment in value-added tax.
Value-added tax.
5 to 7.5%.
So those are things, those are areas that are expected labor to look at. That ILO, International Labour Organization, says that your salary should be able to feed you, your wife or husband, and 4 of your children. Salary I earn must be able to achieve that. That's what we'll be looking at. How do we look at production prices of essential things of life? Transport of price of transportation, houses, the rents. How will I live a good life? That's what labor should be doing. Okay, so each time you talk about salary increase, what comes to the landlords? Their mind is, okay, so more rent.
Even if the NLC, ULC, all the labor organizations come together and find a way to ensure that the workers are well taken care of, it doesn't stop the increment in salaries in the next 5 years.
No. See,
because after today, if the government decides to shift down positively, there's an agreement, we'll still have another increase.
We have another 5 years, but we are stakeholders in Nigeria. We must understand the capacity your government can go. If, as an institution, I know that my government does not have the capacity to increase salary now, it's not a must that we must obey that law.
Really?
A law that will put the nation in jeopardy. You have the right not to obey it, because the law is to make our life better. If you pay salary, and the next thing you have is frictions of salary arrears, your own salary. So rather than do that, between now and the next 5 years, why can't labor look at price control? Why can't labor
is not in charge of price control.
No, but we agitate for fair increase. That time that should come down. So labor should also take that initiative, and government should provide that platform for them to participate. That's
even
why
if labor agitates, because at the point that we find ourselves already, 70% of the budget is spent on salaries and recurrent expenditure.
Coming to my point.
And then we also have 30% just
coming
for
to my
capital.
point.
So even if they do not make that push for increase, is there really any impact?
No. What we should do is to tackle inflation and and other things that led to why salaries of workers are not sufficient for them.
Right.
That's what they should look at, not increase, because the increase is a two-way thing. Once you increase, price will start going up too. So rather than do that, let's look
even
in
without
what,
the increase,
let's
the price
change our
of
style. Let's change our style. And that's what we should be addressing. That why is the production price of this cup comes to with 10 naira? I say 500 naira. The border closure comes with salary increase, with prices of local production increasing now.
Absolutely.
So government should be doing things about that, and labor should be part of the complementary institution
All
right.
to support government to ensure that all those prices comes down, so that salaries of workers will be sufficient for them.
All right, Razak
Thank you.
Ulukoba, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Well, joining us to talk more about this is public affairs analyst Razak Ulukoba. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Labour is still talking about government shifting ground positively, and the government is talking about grey areas. But where do you see this ending today? Are you positive or confident that this will be resolved today?
Well, it's good that the welfare of workers is being paid attention to. If you, as employer, if you look at the welfare of your staff, of course, you have the good part of him or her. But what we are saying is that Labour is not doing bad, but there are better ways of doing what they are doing if it's for workers to live better. Because consistently, if they keep hammering on salary increase, we won't get anywhere. As part of the demands today, we should also encourage Labour to also talk about things that will not take the money they are agitating for away from the workers, which is the prices of commodities. There are essential commodities in town that is on your market set go. Once the salary is increased, everybody will start increasing, like rents, like transportation, like so.
But there's little Labour can do in that aspect.
No, there's no little they can do about that. It's a universal standard that Labour gets involved in virtually everything that has to do with the welfare of
what
Labour.
can they do?
Well, what part of this they can do is that they should encourage government to make a platform available for them to be able to engage manufacturers and producers of essential commodities like things they eat, like production of rice. What's the production price of rice? Why are you selling it for 24,000 naira? Labour can do that. There are Labour representatives in all those sectors, like the transportation, the NURT, the RTAN. They should be called to a meeting that the reason why we want to increase salary is not to take a step forward and 10 steps backward. And that's the area I think Labour should pay attention to more, because over and over again, you have seen salary increase only for us to really be regretting that we shouldn't have had the salary increase in the first instance.
In all of this, there are other factors that culminate to ensure that there's a price increase in commodities, in transportation and all of that. How can Labour meet with the government, or what can they employ to ensure that we don't have this increase? It might not be government's angle. It might just be that policies that were put in place were not as caused that to happen, or fuel price increase.
They are when fuel price increase, and that's part of the things I'm talking about. That things that will affect the welfare of Labour should be what the NLS should be paying attention to, no salary increase alone. We joined the Labour, we formed JAV, the Civil Society Joint Action Forum. Later on, went our forces into LASCO, Labour and Civil Society Coalition. And that's part of our advice to Labour, that
all right,
there are important things that you should also do outside demanding for salary increase.
All right, moving forward now, because after this, if there is an agreement reached today, implementation will be the next phase. Now, because some states are unable to pay the 18,000 naira minimum wage.
But
now
there are good news in Lagos.
Well, it's not just Lagos. We have
Lagos.
36 states. So now, moving forward, how should Labour engage states? Because these salaries have to be paid. We already have increases in various areas, multiple tax.
I know that. I know reality will soon dawn on us.
Yeah.
Thank God, the governor of Lagos has said that he will even pay beyond, far beyond.
That's Lagos State,
that's
but
Lagos.
we have other states.
That's the reality that I'm talking about. That ability is part of the reason why Labour should look away from salary increase at all time. Because there are states, frankly, that they may not be able to cope. And that's why you should look at other areas to improve the welfare rather than salary increase all the time. This is the time for them to start thinking. 5 years gap of legislation that salaries should be increased should be used in
and we
doing
have
what
a
I've said.
framework that
Yes.
works.
Yeah.
All right, we have to leave it at this point. Razak Ulukoba, thank you for your time on TVC
It's a pleasure
Breakfast.
being with you.